It is 8:27 on a Wednesday here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com. We're live here inside the Suburban Chevrolet Make the Choice Studios, joined by Marcus Ray for some Rays of Light. So this is the second half. And Marcus, a number of things that folks want us to dive into. So I want to deviate from what I said we get into before the break and kind of go where the people want us to go. And for a lot of folks, their hang-up is at the end of the second half. There is, I believe it was Miami caught that timeout, right?
First half.
End of the first half. Miami caught that timeout. And so Michigan is on the sideline. And tell me if you noticed this from the booth, because this is what I noticed, and I think you can hear it on the TV copy. So normally the referee comes to the huddle and says, okay, time to go back on the field, and then the clock starts to go. But that didn't take place this particular time. It looks like, I heard a whistle. The referee doesn't come over immediately and say, hey, it's time to get back on the football field. It wasn't until maybe, 7-8 seconds later that he says go back out there. And then at that point, they're already down 10, 12 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, we really couldn't figure out what happened on that play from the booth, and that's why we really didn't comment on it. But at the end of the day, that's still on Brady Hoke or whoever he has in the booth watching the clock. And that's the kind of stuff that's caused Michigan to shoot themselves in the foot and to kill drives and take points off the board, because when they were driving in the first quarter, and they fumbled the snap, that's where I think everything went bad for Michigan. Like it started that little snowball effect, and then it led all the way up to that play you're talking about. But somebody has to communicate that, usually a GA or whoever's in the booth that keeps their eye on the play clock, because they're not on the field in the huddle. So that's just a breakdown just by the Michigan staff, regardless of what the officials did or didn't do. Somebody still got to watch the clock and tell those guys to get back out there. I don't think it was much to discuss.
Well, the question that came of that from one of the listeners was, well, what do you think about the decision to punt the ball on 4th and 6? Should they have gone for it? Obviously, they tried to back them up some more, take another penalty and back them up some more, so to try to get the pooch punt, and that obviously didn't work out well. But what do you think about the initial decision to go ahead and punt it at that point, as opposed to just going for it at the end of the half?
Well, my take on that is you always want to err on the side of safety. And you're still in control of the game. It's not like you were losing to go for it. We all knew Michigan was probably going to come out and dominate in the second half, or at least win the football game. And when when you watch NFL games, you see the low scoring, the defense. You see teams don't go for it on 4th and 1, sometimes even in 4-down territory. You want to end every possession with a kick. That's the mentality of a great offense. Every possession should end with a kick. So against Miami of Ohio, it's not where you go for it on 4th and 6 right in that area and risk turning the ball over, because they had the momentum. When your team starts to turn it over and fall apart, you don't force it. You just let the half run out, regroup, come back in the second half, and win the game. That's what you do. So that was an intelligent coaching move by Brady Hoke, because of the state of which his team was probably in at the time, and because the other guys had momentum, and you lived to play another play. So punting the football, taking the penalty, smart football. I would have done the same thing. And when you watch football on Sunday, they do it all the time.
All right, so let's start talking defense. And I don't know that we really need to go much more in depth into the front seven. They've been pretty good over the first 3 games of the season against the run, including against Notre Dame. The pressure has been pretty malign, but I'm curious if you think what I think in that regard, and that's that, much of the inability of the pressure to get home, much of that was born of some looseness in the secondary, looseness that seemed to tighten up somewhat against Miami. And I'm curious what you think of the secondary's performance against Miami.
I think the secondary's performance was a C+, if that. but it was average in my opinion. And I'm not going based off of stats. I'm just going based off of some of the plays that Miami made. For example, they're down on the goal line, Miami's touchdown. They ran the same exact play Notre Dame ran, and I said that on television, on the same kid, in the same scenario. Michigan's problem in the secondary is they don't disguise coverages. They line up, and they're sitting ducks. Next thing you know, the teams that they play have a check with me system, and they change the play at the line of scrimmage and attack the hole in defense. It's like, Sam, I know you from Flint. You show me your hand playing spades, then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play my hand a little differently because I know you got the ace of hearts. So it's just a thing to where those guys back there aren't playing with confidence. They're nicked up. Guys moving around, moving and shaking. Peppers didn't look 100% to me.
Me neither.
But they had to get him back out there just for some reps and to just get some game. He needs game experience, so they're gonna need that boy going into the conference play. I don't think Jeremy Clark is there yet physically. I don't think he understands what it means to play safety at Michigan. You have to be an eraser. You have to punish and separate the man from the football whenever it goes in the air. Receivers are running freely, and there's no fear back there to catch the ball across the middle, down the sideline, anywhere. So I think Jordan Lewis is going to be a special kind of guy. He just needs to work on a couple of things. But see, when you don't have a pass rush all the time, and you don't cover guys all the time either, then it all works hand in hand. So pass defense is not just on the front or the back. It's everybody. Linebackers, too. Linebackers didn't really get reroutes on guys in the slot. I think Miami's little play-action game froze the linebackers just enough, gave the linebackers time to get back there. But I just think at the safety position, there's not a lot of production. At the corner position, there's a lot of potential. And it's just that, they're going to have to get better because this week, this team that they're going to play, they have wide receivers, buddy.
No doubt.
Utah team. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My man Scott, he'll run by some people. It's pretty good. Not only can Utah pass the ball, and their quarterback's mobile. What's his name?
Travis
Wilson.
Yeah.
Wilson. He's mobile, accurate, and I know they haven't played nobody
big.
yet. And big. But you know what the problem with Utah is? They're like a better version of Indiana was last year. So it's not that Michigan's pass defense is in trouble. It's more so that their style with that spread to run and pass, and their tempo is what causes people a lot of problems. So that's why I'm a little worried about Michigan going in the Saturday game defensively because of what Indiana did with their tempo last year. They called 2-3 plays at once, regardless of what happens. The play that they already know the play. They can lose 2 yards, but gain 20, and the next play is rolling. And I just think that the quarterback can move. Wilson, he dinks and dunks, then he'll go over your head. They had a plethora of wide receivers, and they can run the ball. Already with almost 500 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. So Greg Madison, that defense, I think, have their hands full and their work cut out for them. It's hard to simulate that kind of tempo in practice. You have to run guys in waves. Like you have to have 2 offensive groups ready to go. So when one group runs a play and the ball's down, the next group is running it right to the line and calling a play. That's how fast you got to try to simulate what they're going to see Saturday.
We're talking to Marcus Ray, Rays of Light, here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTK.com. Their top receiver, Drez Anderson. I didn't even know this, but Ira told me that's Flipper Anderson's kid. I said, man, no wonder that kid's a ball player out there on the perimeter. But you talked about, I know the plays you're talking about when Michigan gave a touchdown, same spot. Their nickel guy. Now, they made a change after that, and I'm curious what you think of that change moving forward. Aside from playing more base in that game, after that touchdown, I think that was when we started seeing when they played nickel, they had Blake Countess at that spot and had JD and Jabril Peppers on the outside. Do you think that's something do you think that's an adjustment that they'll stick with moving forward?
It all depends on Jabril Peppers because that was going into the season. He was the nickelback playing. Started at nickel against App. If he wouldn't have been hurt, he would have started at nickel against Notre Dame. So all the moving and shuffling around and throwing things at the wall to see what sticks, that's all predicated on number 5. His health because if he's in there, if he's healthy, then you would see, Jordan or Ray at the corner. You would see Countess, and then you would see Jabril. Those would be your three. Now, when somebody goes down, and hopefully, and Jabril just happened to be the one to go down, now you got to kind of makeshift some things. And I bet you Greg is probably thinking he should have moved to that nickel package. And I didn't talk to Madison about it, but it's just me thinking. It's Notre Dame. Go ahead and throw Blake at the nickel because that's what he played all of last year anyway, and then go with Jordan and Channing. And then, those guys played a lot of football last year in that same package. That's where I think the Michigan defense dropped the ball, is they didn't make that adjustment on the slot, because that's really where I think Notre Dame wanted to attack Michigan.
And did.
And then Miami did the same thing. Like I said, they got down there in the goal line, and a guy like Hollowell, who hasn't played a lot, to his defense, he hasn't played a lot, but he still got to get up there and make a play. You got to know, if you see the same formation in the same area of the field from the team that you played against last week, chances are they're going to run the same. If it walk like a duck and it talk like a duck, it's probably going to quack. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand perfect.
So a guy like Blake Countess now, who's an older player who's played a lot, an all-conference guy, he can line up and then say, I think he's not about to run this outcut, and if he do, it's going 100 yards. But here's where the safeties come in. Michigan doesn't have the kind of safety. I'm not asking them to be Tommy Hendricks or to anticipate like me. Somebody back there has to be able to say, hey, Hollowell, hey, watch the speed out, baby. Here it comes. Slide a little bit outside if you got to. Hey, I got your help. Hey, linebackers, watch the play action. Get a hand on that slot guy for me. Hey, Peppers, you backside by yourself. It's trips. Get deep. Ball going up. Get you a free one. See, they don't have that going on. I can just tell by watching you don't see that kind of communication. And that makes all the difference in the world. So I just think that nickel group, moving Blake inside, gives them the best chance against Utah, especially if Jabril is not going to be at his best. But I don't know. Another week's worth of treatment. They might be able to line Jabril up at the nickel. Because, see, the game plan versus Miami wasn't to play nickel. It was to play base defense. Play a lot of cover four. That's what it looked like to me. Give up the short pass in front of you. And Miami really couldn't go vertical after Jordan got his pick, because it's hard to throw the ball deep when somebody's playing off coverage. But now, going to this week, expect to see a lot of nickel and maybe even some dime.